interesting issues with running backs and some information I harvested last night in anticipation of the pregame show. We'll run through it here. Let's start with Dalvin Cook. My understanding, the Jets remain very viable contenders to sign Cook, Myles, and with the Jets now having 8 days until their next preseason game, a window opens for talks to commence. I don't get the impression there have been any serious talks yet, but now the expectation is there's a window for the Jets to explore adding Dalvin Cook. And, they like him. He likes them. Aaron Rodgers wants him. He wants to be there. Aaron Rodgers' cap number was going to be under his contract as it was originally constructed when they were going to trade for him, $15.5 million or so. Now it's 8.8. There's all the cap space you need to just go out and get Dalvin Cook if you want him. So, we're going to find out soon enough. And I get the impression Cook will be signed by someone before week one, that he's not just going to sit and wait and collect the Vikings $2 million. That's what he can make this year if he doesn't play at all, or even start collecting those checks. He's I believe, going to be somewhere before week one, and right now the Jets are the leading candidates.
The Jets make a lot of sense just based on what we know about what that team's aspirations are, right? And the fact that you still got Breece Hall coming back from that very serious knee injury. And when we talked to Peter King last week, he told us that at that point, Breece Hall is only running forward and back. He's not running laterally, side to side, not making those cuts that are essential to make when you're a running back. And again, there's still time before the regular season for that to happen. But when you have somebody who is a healthy veteran running back who runs for 1,000 yards every year for the last 4 years, it seems to me like if you really want to get off to a good start this season, and the Jets have to get off to a good start this season because they run through a gauntlet of teams throughout the entire 18 weeks of the season, except for their bye, right? Then you want somebody like a Dalvin Cook who can come in there and be at his best right away. And I think the way to ensure that would be to sign him as soon as possible. So, Mike, I'll ask you this too. What do you think that a Dalvin Cook contract might look like?
Somebody asked me that yesterday, and my first gut reaction was $5.5 million base, $500,000 in per game roster bonuses, where divide that by 17, you get a check for every game that you're on the game day roster. So that gets you to $6 million. And a lot of times that $500,000 just gets presumed it's part of the base package, even though you have to earn it by being available 1 week at a time. So that's $6 million. $1 million in very, very easily fall off a log incentive. That's what they used to call it years ago, the falling off the log incentive, that anybody can do it to get the first million. Second million, a little bit more. And then a third million that would be like a superstar package, like the $909,000 that Saquon Barkley can earn this year. 1,300 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, 60 catches, something like that, playoffs, to get that last $1 million. So he can get up to $9 million. That was my kind of visceral, when I was asked yesterday, what would a good contract look like for Dalvin Cook? That was just the first thing that came to mind. Now, maybe he'll do a little bit better than that. And if he does, more power to him. But to me, that feels like it's in line with the current market.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. It wouldn't get him to that kind of $10.1 million franchise tag number. But I think that, when you get cut and you're a free agent and you're out there, that's kind of just the way that things would shake out. And I think it does make sense to me. And look, that would put him in there at 7th among running backs. If you were able to get all of those things, if you have a $5 million base salary, though, that would put him under 10th and under Myles Sanders. But that's just kind of where we're at right now with running backs and the contracts. And yeah, Dalvin Cook has done what he's done, and it's not like he's shown, really big signs of slowing down. But when you're a free agent and it's this time of year, sometimes you just kind of got to take what you can get.
Yeah, Myles Sanders got what he got first day of free agency, with all teams in a position that they could pursue him and sign him. That was the market. That was the moment that Sims and I said on this program, hey, Tony Pollard, probably a good idea to take the $10.1 million the Cowboys are offering. Because once they see which way the wind's blowing on this running back market, they're going to yank that 10-1, and you're going to be in a position coming off of a broken ankle where you have to go find 10-1 elsewhere, and you're not going to do it. So he signed that thing right away. Smartest move of the offseason by anyone, team, player, coach, whoever, getting that 10-1, because that 10 would not be there today. It would have been gone long before today, because that's just where the market was. So if 6'4" is the best Miles Sanders can do in March, 5'5" with another $500,000 if you're able to suit up, with another $1 million for simplicity, easy incentives, another on top of that for a good mid-level year, and then that final $1 million. That I think that's the best he can hope for. And again, if he does better than that, bravo, Dalvin Cook, because this is a tough market now for the position that he plays. Other teams still interested, I'm told, per sources. The Jets, obviously, I already mentioned the Jets. The Dolphins, I'm running through the list in my brain here. The Patriots and the Broncos. The Broncos are still very interested. Now, I don't think the Broncos would want to pay him very much, but you know how Sean Payton likes to have that three-headed monster if he can pull it off. He's got Javonte Williams healthy, not on the PUP list, practicing. He's got Samaje Perine. I think he'd like to add Dalvin Cook to the mix as well if he could. And I know Russell Wilson has been pushing for a long time to try to get Dalvin Cook to join him in Denver. And that's part of the balance too, Miles. When you're talking about the right contract for Dalvin Cook, if I'm just going to be a part of a committee and it's not going to contribute dramatically to my career mileage, if my odometer is not going to get all jacked up this year and I'm going to be in a position where I can even go beyond, 3-4 more years, I'll take less because you're not going to use me much. That's fine with me. I'll happily be part of a committee approach. That's one of his options, and Denver could give that to him if he chose to do that. Make less, play longer. That's the one good thing about the current approach to running backs. You potentially can avoid having your career burn out quickly if you find yourself on one of those teams that uses a bunch of different guys.
Right. If you're not the bell cow back, as the saying goes, then you're not getting as many carries, you're not taking as many hits, and that can elongate your career. I think that would be an interesting option for him to go to Denver. And look, Denver has a lot of issues on offense that they needed to sort out after last year. But now if you have somebody in Sean Payton who we know can scheme offense well, and we know did a great job of utilizing guys like Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara at the same time, you go back further, it's Darren Sproles and all those other guys. You see how those things can develop, and that at least if you're going there, as opposed to somebody with maybe a less experienced coaching staff, then at least there you're going to be in a good position to make plays as a running back. So I think that would be an interesting kind of three-headed combination with Williams, with Perine, and then with Dalvin Cook. But the Dolphins as an option, as somebody who is from South Florida like Dalvin Cook is, and that would still be pretty darn intriguing to me. And if you get to be coached by a guy like Mike McDaniel, who has talked about wanting to run the ball more and more effectively. Now, they don't necessarily need Dalvin Cook to do that. Mike McDaniel's a good run schemer. He was the run game coordinator for years in San Francisco. It's not like they really need a guy like Dalvin Cook, but man, I think they could have a Dalvin Cook that might be able to take that offense just to that next level. And in the competitive AFC and the competitive AFC East, any edge you get, that's not bad. And it prevents them from going to the Jets too.
I think the Dolphins have a number, and they're not moving from it. Mm-hmm. And they're being very disciplined and very restrained. And they don't want to get caught up in this frenzy. Oh, we got to get him. And then you drive up the price, and then the Jets start driving up the price. And then it's like you're at the auction, and they're holding up the paddles. And it's great for the player, but it's bad for the teams. And when you have the Patriots in the mix as well, you could potentially get a lot more than you were going to get, but it seems like everyone is very restrained and everyone is very patient, and they know that at some point he's going to go somewhere. Right now, I would say the Jets, but that could be the thing that wakes up one of these other teams. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.